Hi, everybody. Welcome back to second segment, episode 189 of Sold with Updike Pugh. I'm Jeff Updike.
I'm Weston Pugh, and today we have a very timely and important discussion to talk to you about, and that is HOA changes per Senate Bill 1588.
And these were, I think, some of the most important changes in the way HOAs can act that I've seen in a very, very long time.
And I think that if you're not from here, or if you haven't lived inside of an HOA, you may not realize that here in Texas that the HOAs, they had a lot of teeth and they had a lot of power. And I think that Texans really don't want to be told what to do with their property in general. And even though, yes, you know, you're moving into an HOA, some of these things that they were doing were just a little too much.
Yeah, I agree. The first thing that, the first step that is listed in the Senate bill talked about assessments, and the kind of teeth that they put in place for this one was that they have now said that homeowners associations cannot charge any kind of regular assessment that is not listed in the defining documents, like articles of incorporation, the rules and regulations, the bylaws. If they are not listed in there, they can't arbitrarily start charging you a monthly fee just to make up a shortfall in the budget.
But now, if they would like to create a quorum and bring it to a vote by the homeowners, then it can be amended and then it could show up. But the great thing is that you're not just going to get, as Jeff said, a $20 increase in your HOAs for trash pickup or for parking.
Yeah, it has to all be rolled into the regular monthly assessment, and unless you go through the process Weston talked about.
Yep. And number two, welcome to the Bible Belt. The displays of religious items now are going to be allowed on your personal property. It's interesting to me that this was prohibited before. It kind of blows my head that, because at some point you could just about say that anything around Christmas could be deemed a religious expression. So, like, where would they stop this? So I'm glad to see that this has been really addressed.
It's incredibly important, and it applies more for single-family residences. It does impact condominiums. You know, condos are very different in that you don't own the outside of the building. Correct. As an owner. You own an undivided percentage of it. So many times, HOAs have even had issues with you putting some kind of fixture to touch as you walk in the door, which some religions, that's part of their celebration.
It's a requirement.
Yeah. And, now the homeowners association can't tell you not to do that.
I like it.
I do too.
I think it's going to be really great.
Number 3 was really important because it talks about pool fencing. Now, this one does apply really just to the single-family home type properties. The example that we came up with was that these homes, say you've got a home that's on a golf course, and the owner of one of those homes wants to put a security fence up around their pool to keep their dogs or children or whomever from just arbitrarily going out and getting in the pool. Some homeowners associations said, no, you can't do that because it's affecting the view of the people from the golf course. And finally, now there is this law in place that HOAs cannot tell you that anymore. They can tell you they can define the color that can be used. The one color that they cannot restrict from is black mesh. So if you want to do a black mesh with metal poles all the way around your pool, they cannot prohibit you from doing that.
I think this is almost just common sense, given the fact that when a pool company installs a pool, they are required to put a sensor at the back door that sounds when you can disable it, but not to be able to have a pool fencing, especially if you're in a situation where there's little ones that could be in jeopardy. So the fourth thing we want to talk about is security measures. And this is really interesting to me because I can't imagine that an HOA would care that much if you had cameras around the house or placed on it. And again, it can't be in this condo because it's a percentage of ownership, so that doesn't work out. But this actual portion of the Senate bill actually went so far as to address perimeter fencing, which was new to us, and it will be really interesting to see how this shakes itself out and how the HOA's architectural review committees actually interpret this and then act on it. So this will be interesting.
It will be, because and again, going back to single family homes, like Weston said, many times people want to fence their front yard, and they should be able to do that as a security measure if they want to, but HOAs have in the past have said, no, you can't do that. Well, now with the way this is written, my understanding is that if the HOA does not define the type of product that you can use to do it with, you're free to do it with whatever you want to do it with. And until they define it, there's nothing that they can really do about it.
They will be defining that in very, very shortly.
Yes, I would bet if it's not already defined, it will be defined very quickly.
Because they had to have known this was coming down the pipes.
Yes,
absolutely. So they needed to be ahead of that, especially the good ones. Some of the ones. No.
Number 5 is fee limits. Now, the fees that an HOA can charge for preparation of the documents that have to be provided to a buyer is limited at $375, and any renewal of the resale certificate is limited to $75 after that. Those resale certificates are valid for 60 days, and then most title companies want to have those renewed. HOA companies have been charging really exorbitant amounts for many of those.
And it was always just kind of like within our contract, there's always the discussion of how much the buyer and the seller are going to pay. Mm-hmm. And given the fact that you didn't know how much they were, you're taking a stab in the dark unless the seller had been proactively gone out and received those and was able to share that with you. So you may actually not negotiate high enough, and all of a sudden your buyer gets stuck with, $625 worth of resale certificates. And now we're all at one playing level field, and that's $375.
Yep. And that it's so funny because it's not funny. It's really sad because a lot of times the only way I could describe those fees that they were being charged to sellers is it's the kick you in the butt on the way out the door fee. I mean, many times HOAs don't negotiate those fees with management companies when they hire the management company, and nobody finds out what those fees are until that first seller comes along and is selling, and he's already going out the door. So, he
likely that he's not going to say anything because he's moving out of state.
Just leaves with a bad taste in his mouth.
Terrible. And the number 6 one that we want to talk about is delivery of required items. And this is actually the timetable that we want to talk about, because for a while that was, I believe it was 30 days, and then it got whittled down. And now after a second request in a mailed format, the HOA has 5 days to get you the necessary bylaws and docs. And one of the big things that they did also is, instead of making it just a $500 fine that could be assessed to the HOA, that has been up to $5,000 if they don't comply. And
there are so many other things that I think in this that it puts teeth in to make an HOA respond. A lot of times people talk about HOAs as this, third-party nebulous thing out there. The HOA is really you. You are a partial owner in that HOA when you become an owner there, and you are responsible for everything that homeowners association does. Many times they hire a third-party management company, but sometimes they don't always give the best advice to the HOA. They give the advice that makes managing the property easiest. So there's a little bit of a dichotomy there when you start comparing, what those two goals are, where the HOAs is to run it in the most efficient manner. The management company wants to run it in the most efficient manner for the management company. So.
And it's just kind of nice because I feel like now we're beginning to have some type of policy in place that runs congruent with the current real estate contracts, because a 30-day turnaround on resale certificate will throw you out of whack when it comes to getting your contract executed and closed and funded. And the only way to resolve that is to pay an absorbent rush fee. And so these are elements that kind of get everything lined back up and help everybody get to the closing table sooner, given the fact that all they really are doing is attaching files to an email. It's not that difficult.
No, it's not. So I hope you found this helpful. We're going to continue this on. There's some more changes that HOAs have made, or that the Senate Bill 1588 made, but we'll do it in another episode. If you would like to go read the bill, we've got the link set out there for you. If it is a night you've got a little bit of insomnia, this is a really good document to help with that. But it really is good reading, and I think it would be helpful for anyone that's involved in an HOA to gather this information and hold on to it.
Absolutely. And
so if there's any other subjects you'd like us to cover, please let us know. We'd be happy to make that happen.
And just remember, we want to be your realtors for life.